Mike Wilson with Andesite Blue, brought to you by Toloka Studios. And I'm happy to be here with you this evening. It is a little bit different evening than normal. We usually meet on Tuesday, and I promise that we will be on a normal schedule soon. But with everything that's going on here in Ukraine, it is not guaranteed that we can always meet and get together on the same day and time. But I'm happy to come here to you this evening and go over some wonderful things and projects. I have a great guest with me tonight. This is actually part two of something that we started last month with Ukraine Nua. So I'm going to be presenting to you Bradley, and he's one of the directors of Ukraine Nua. So anyway, we can get right into it. Part of our topic is going to be really the rebuilding of Ukraine. We're going to be talking about, the investments at the end of this program. I'm going to talk to you about the bonds, of the Andesite Blue bonds, and really just talk, the atmosphere and everything that's going on here in Ukraine. And there's an anxiety kind of being built up, and it's not a bad anxiety. It's actually a positive one that really sees where Ukraine is going and what's going to be happening here, and the rebuilding of Ukraine, the energy. We can start. It's just an interesting emotion. I've lived here for 4 years. I've been involved with Ukraine for 9 years, and you can kind of feel all of the things that we've suffered through. With the COVID and then this invasion of February last year. We've been under, bombs and missile attacks and basically under a full-scale war, now solid for a year. And right now, people still get nervous, but there's this real growing anticipation of what's coming next, which is very positive. And so we're going to talk about that this evening, and I'm really happy to bring Bradley to us. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and introduce Bradley. And Bradley, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mike.
And you've been here a week now from Ireland?
Been here a week from Ireland, yes, County Tipperary.
Okay. So would you do me a favor and just tell our audience a little bit about you, your background, and what you're doing?
All right, I'm a media guy.
Okay.
Ostensibly, started in the media, in radio, television, motion pictures. I have built theme parks in China. I've created nightclubs in London. We've done national radio programs. But then I moved from media into renewable energy. So
Okay.
started to
All
get
right.
into waste to energy, so municipal solid waste into energy, and then solar energy.
Okay.
A few years ago, we created a company here called Evagy, which was all about doing rooftop solar in Ukraine.
Okay. All right.
Because we had a group a company in the UK called Maximum Earth Group, and it was about becoming a micro utility built around rooftop solar for large commercial and educational institutions.
Now, when you say solar, there's two types of solar. You got thermal solar, and you got UV light or light solar for
Solar
electricity. PV.
Yeah.
Okay.
So photovoltaic, the panels go on the roof, roof space of the factories or of the schools. It's wasted real estate. There's nothing up there.
Yes, exactly.
So you put the panels up top, and then we sell the customers the energy, and we can sell it to them at 20% reduction from the grid rate that they would be paying if they were buying their energy off the grid.
Okay.
We pay them a peppercorn rent of £1, just so that we're renting the roof space from them, sell them their energy, but we can also lock in their energy rate for 10 years. So at the moment in the UK and Ireland, we're paying 40 pence per kilowatt hour for electricity.
40 pence per hour, kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the Ukraine here, I believe it's 4
pence.
10%.
Yeah, of the cost
price.
in the UK. Yeah.
So we're
And I've heard that the UK utilities are astronomical.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it's last month the price to heat my house was £800. So Yeah, I live in a grade 1 listed building attached to Thornbury Castle, where Henry VIII used to live. So I'm not allowed to have solar panels. The UK government are very strict about what we do. English Heritage, they're very strict about what we do as far as putting anything on the property. I can't even choose paint color. It's great fun to live there.
Yes.
It's 530 years old, and the front door key is the size of my hand, and there used to be 2, but Henry lost one. So it's great to talk about the history.
And you can't go back to him anymore.
No. And he was pretty grumpy anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just costs what it costs. I mean, it's not a very thermal house.
Not at 500 years old.
Little hard to heat. But nonetheless, the price of energy in the UK and Ireland at the moment is insane. Absolutely out there.
Now, it's very interesting because I know that you're segueing into a bit of what you're doing and what you're going to be doing here in developments and stuff like that. And one of the things we were talking about in the first time with Svetlana was the communities kind of being autonomous a little bit, where they're going to be independent, like energy independent through solar energy, and also the waste management, and through producing energy through waste. Which is interesting with new development, especially getting prepared for the EU, which Ukraine is starting to work their way towards that, and they've gotten the acceptance. The application has been accepted, so they're in the accession stage of going into the EU. Those are some of the standards that they have to meet.
Absolutely.
And so it's fantastic because you already have this experience going on. And one of the most inefficient ways of heating your home is when the city heats up the water and sends it to your house.
Absolutely.
It is, and that's outrageous. I pay $200 a month.
Yeah.
For my apartment, and you've been in my apartment.
Yeah, lovely apartment.
It's not a small one, but
it was warm. It was plenty warm.
Well, when you have 50 people, we were opening windows. When you have 50 people in there, the party, it's going to warm up really quick. So that's another good way to heat your house up.
Exactly.
Invite people over.
If I had 50 roommates, and life's good. So absolutely. So for us, it's about vision. The vision of what we're building, and we're at that vision stage. And the idea is that Ukraine has been dealt a bad hand. So it had the position it was in before the war was struggling.
Struggling but growing, but it was struggling. Yes,
it was definitely struggling. The war has pulled most of the populace together, so they're all going one direction and starting to see more a direction to head. So that's the silver lining to the cloud. It's a very expensive way to get there, but it consolidated everybody's view. But the country's been dealt this bad hand, and families have been separated, mothers and children have had to go. For USA, Canada, which they're great places to go, but it's a long way from your family.
Some of them are, you're right, it is. And they long to come home. I mean, I've talked to many of my friends who are abroad, and they say, we can't wait to come home. We miss home,
Absolutely.
So.
And then you get countries, Ireland, which is where our sort of foundation comes from. We are a Ukrainian company, but our start comes from Ireland. Republic of Ireland. They have 70,000 Ukrainian refugees living in Ireland now. If you land at the airport as a Ukrainian citizen, you walk up to the desk, they hand you your social insurance number so that you can work. You can work instantly. They'll help you find accommodation.
Exactly.
They're wide open to people coming in, which is fantastic. But it means they've got 70,000 refugees there. And they have no intention of pulling the rug out from under them.
Correct.
But of course, it's very helpful if those refugees are able to start returning home. Some will want to stay in Ireland because Ireland is a lovely place to stay and there's a good future there and good employment.
Correct.
But a lot of people would like to come home.
Yes.
But what is there to come home to? So.
And that's the vision. That's what we're talking about this evening. Is preparing that the return of our refugees. That one of the statements that was made by one of my friends. She actually used to work for me, and she says, "I never thought in my life that I'd ever be called or feel like a refugee." I mean, it's a status, it's a feeling that just, it's almost homeless.
Yeah.
It's a status of homelessness, you know, and it's just a weird thing. Even people who left Donetsk and Luhansk in 2014 and 2015, they were refugee within their own country because they were homeless. They were their homes were destroyed and they lost everything and they had to restart over. But fortunately, they were within their own country, so reestablishing themselves. Many of them became very successful and did well, and because they come with all of their intelligence and all of their faculties and everything ready to go to work, you know. And Ukrainians are very hard workers, which I absolutely adore and love about Ukrainians. You know, they don't let the moss grow under their feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that refugee status is not a fun position. So.
Absolutely. So this gives us a kind of a perfect storm of opportunity. We've got people who've been dealt a really bad hand, and maybe I'm too nice, but I'd love them to have somewhere to come back to that wasn't good. It was awesome.
Right.
So absolutely beautiful, absolutely forward thinking. The tech is all there. The houses are warm. They're bright.
Yes.
There's glass. There's natural materials. So that what they're coming back to is special. So whatever home they had that was destroyed, if they can come back and we're a business, so it's not about a social program, but what we'd like to do is create the community so that they can rent to start with. They're not going to come back with bags of
Correct.
money. So if they can rent at a reasonable rent for a period, and then have an option to buy.
Right. That lease option is absolutely one of the best options I ever think is available to humanity. It gives a person who is really starting over again and doesn't have much to be able to get in, to fit in, to be comfortable, and then start dreaming and hoping again.
Yes.
You know, and then they can own it's their home.
They can
Why not own it?
Start to create a home, start to create a community. And again, this whole idea of community. So they'll move into these homes. They'll be autonomous. So the electricity will come from solar. We have a technology that is a micro hydro technology. You can dump turbines below the surface of rivers. And as long as you have 0.5 meter per second of flow, you can produce good energy from that. So if we're building one near a river, we can use that as an energy source as well.
Sure.
But they're autonomous. We don't need to connect to the grid. So we're not worried about all kinds of costs and regulations of connecting to the grid. And in Ukraine, when I was looking into all of the facts and figures for EVG, for our rooftop solar, there's 50% losses in the grid transmission. So from
50% losses from the source to
from where they produce the energy till it gets to the house, you've got a 50% loss.
Wow.
So that's almost like sparks dropping off the cables. That's crazy. In the UK, it's 10% loss, and that's
that gets into infrastructure and really restructuring.
And that's a big lift.
Yeah.
That is a very big lift. Now, because there's been damage, some countries are coming in and helping to upgrade that system. But that's a big system, and it's very expensive. The other thing that we've also been seeing because of the war, it's very easy for the antagonist to knock out your infrastructure.
Correct.
Bam, one rocket and Kiev's dark.
Right.
If you've got microgeneration,
you're not focusing on that. Correct. There's nowhere to focus.
You've got light 24/7. You've got your shower.
Correct.
You've got your internet. You've got what you need. So you're living good. But it's also about health. It's part of the plan is to create greenhouses to be able to grow organic vegetables. You had a guest on a bit before Svetlana was on, Tatiana with her water technology. You very kindly introduced us to Tatiana, and we're buying into her technology big time. That's absolutely awesome. So you can turn the tap, bam, drinking water. And it's not only pure, it's even more healthy than the bottled water.
Correct.
So the people living in these communities will have every opportunity to lead healthy lives for their families, very convenient and easy, so that they can focus on moving Ukraine into
the EU,
into the future.
One of the most exciting things about the EU, I'm not a real big fan of the EU in general with their spending, and that's one part of their issues that has been addressed. I mean, that's not a secret. You know, they've got some very bad spending issues there, and so that part of the political part of it and everything, I'm not. But what I am a total fan of, which every country that has joined it has benefited from, it, is the single market system, and that has driven the economy. I mean, Poland. I mean, we can just go around. You know, we can go around the country, especially the later countries that have just gotten in there. Their GDP has just gone through the roof because of that. You know, and that really, and so Ukraine is going to see a surge in growth. It's going to be something that the people will feel because it's going to affect their paychecks. Their income alone is going to, the standard will go up, and
Absolutely.
so they're not going to be under this constant pressure of managing their pennies, you know, and which, I mean, it's important to manage, but you know, there's a lot of stress to that, you know. But by raising that, you're raising your lifestyle. Countries like the U.S., even the U.K. and many free nations. There's an index. It's called a happiness index. There's a category, list of categories, right? Healthcare is like number 3 or 4. So I think it's around number 3. But one of the number 1 is opportunity.
Yes, absolutely.
That for the happiness index. So when you look at nations and the people who live happy, it all depends on opportunities. It's an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to make your life and your home and your family what you want it to be.
How do you excel if you feel you have no hope?
Exactly.
So hope, absolutely, that hope of being able to have that achieve that better life for your family. It's absolutely wonderful. The other side of it, of course, is employment and jobs.
Well, that's the opportunity. Those are
to bring our modular home technology and the design. We're working on opening up the factory in Rivne because Republic of Ireland has a special relationship with Rivne. We've been connected and joined as sisters. You know, so we're looking at Rivne to build a factory.
So that'll be the factory there,
The factory there. Then we'll bring the modular pieces to wherever it happens to be. We're building the community, and then smack the houses together. They go together. The whole process takes about 60% of the time of traditional build. So it can be faster.
Yes.
The houses are more airtight. They're
stronger. They're thermally more efficient for hot and cold. They're just tremendous. Plus they're upgraded electronics, upgraded outlets. Everything in there is just
and you're
very high
future
standard.
proofed. So we can look 5 years in advance and say we think the technology will be pretty much there. So have 5 years future proofing. But if the walls are also panels that come off easy so that you can rewire when in 10 years' time, and then panel back on, then they're future-proofed for decades.
Yes,
and people can you're not seeing trunking and cable laying everywhere and all the mess. They can be future-proofed very easily. So all of this can happen with the modular idea. And then the modular community. So we build in 15 house chunks. We'll put 15 houses in and a store, a little shop. And then the next phase, as soon as we've got enough occupancy in that, we'll start the next phase, and that will have the kindergarten or the school. And then the next phase. And so we'll just start to put that lifestyle infrastructure in place as well as these get built out. So, and then as the demand wanes, we know to start working on another area, and that's
correct. When you fill that area,
it's an organic growth. It's not too large. We haven't got half the houses sitting empty.
Well, and the neat thing about it, as you meant, is the speed of which this can be developed. Instead of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years for a master plan community, like I say, each phase is prepared within months. Of completion.
Yeah, And it's a balance. We're not throwing down shipping containers with a cot in it,
Right.
which is important at some stages. You've got to get some shelter for some people sometimes. I
Right.
get that. But so our view is to go that sort of in between, so that it's not as fast as shipping container job, but it's also permanence. So the families can move in and it will last.
The chain is amazing too. The involvement of everything to do that. So we've got the manufacturer. That's one side of it. That's employment. Okay, that's tax revenue for the
right.
country, but it's also employment. It's good, solid income for the workers on that. But that's one area. So depending on the size of the factory and the manufacturing facility, it could be 1, 2, 3, 400 people, depending on really the absolute need. Because as the demand grows, then that of course employment will gain.
Correct.
Well, there's also a whole chain. We got trucking, so we got a whole need for that. So we got employment on that, and you want the same trucker, that he understands the dynamics and everything is moving and everything, and he knows the weather conditions and what he can handle, and so he's used to doing the same thing all the time, and so now you have a trucking system in there, but now you also have to have ground preparation. You talked about solar, okay? So and you talked about greenhousing. You talked about the stores. There's just a whole chain of employment.
Absolutely.
Permanent employment.
Yeah, there's roads to be built.
Yes.
There's landscaping to be done. There's landscaping to be continued with. Is it a serviced community so that you can? Does Dad want to go out and mow the lawn, or does he want
someone else
to come and mow the lawn? Probably someone else to do it.
Well, in Ukraine they use the sickle.
So absolutely. So that's one of the projects, and I think it's an exciting one. I think the people are loving the vision. So that's
when it catches on, because it is a very beautiful aesthetic look on these buildings. Okay, on these people think pre-manufactured. They're thinking boxes, or containers. And it's not.
No.
There is a lot of personality to these.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nice edges and nice architecture, that makes the aesthetic of it, especially on the individual home, on the single family homes. Those can look
absolutely
very custom and very, very nice. I mean, even the finish, you can throw on some veneers that make it look like a log house if you wanted to.
Yeah, and there will be an outdoor living space with a barbecue or fire and patio and covered area.
So it's on a parcel, So
it's all there for the doing. And that's a absolutely lovely project, and people are loving it. The other project, one of the other projects that we've been working with Andesite Blue on, is an ethanol distillery business. So basically, it takes corn.
Right.
It's something to do with it's called export or import substitution. So instead of exporting the corn for somebody else to make ethanol and importing the ethanol, these units cost about 10 million euros. So you take the corn, put it in the distillery. You get out of it 16,500 liters of ethanol per day.
Okay.
You get 40 tons of cattle feed. You get corn oil that can be either used for energy or food, and there's even some electricity production.
Ethanol, you can go diesel, you can and also the food, the fodder and stuff.
So the ethanol can be commingled with petrol, gasoline.
Correct.
Now so ethanol is about 50% energy value of gasoline, petrol for our UK viewers. But it commingles in. You can get away with an E15 and E20, and you don't need to make any alteration to your engine. So it's great because you're not then importing, as you don't need to import as much fuel.
Correct.
And it's local usage. 16,500 liters will service a number of the filling stations around, or an agricultural business. So it's just the right amount, and that business washes its face in 3 years.
Wow. Okay, so that's fantastic. Yeah, it's not a 5-year, but that's a really good return on that.
Yeah. So, and then of course the rest of the operation is gravy.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we can do 10 of those around the country, that's a nice portfolio.
Yeah,
of ethanol.
that does a lot also, because that sets up for agriculturally, you got the farmers that are that will raise the corn, and you got the greenhouses. You'd have to have some pretty large greenhouses to produce that much corn.
Yeah. No, that's straightforward agribusiness.
Yes, yeah.
But you don't then need to. It keeps it local.
Correct.
We're talking about you're getting rid of a lot of that transportation cost. Cost as in grivna.
And handling costs and all kinds of stuff.
And environmental costs.
Yeah.
So you reduce your carbon footprint because you're not having to truck that corn out and truck the fuel back in. It's all being used locally. So that's a very nice thing. There are a number of biodiesel plants for sale in this country.
Yes.
Part of my background is I created a sustainable fueling structure for the London iconic black taxis. There's 24,000 black cabs in London, and we created. It was a biodiesel, a B30 blended biodiesel to service the taxis. But the manufacturer said, oh no, that voids our warranty. You can't do a B30 blend. So we then used rare earth magnetic filtration on our fuel and achieved the same results on an EN 590 diesel. And we built a £6 million refueling retail outlet at Heathrow Airport, about spitting distance from the main runway, that the black cabs would come in. There's 7,000 taxis serve Heathrow Airport a day.
Oh my goodness!
And they all drove right past our filling station.
Wow!
So that was a really cool.
That's fantastic.
Business.
Yeah. So no, that's irreplaceable. Experience, that
Absolutely.
you could bring into here, So this is really, really good.
So there's fuel, and that's again very necessary, but it's all about being green. And improving that environmental sustainability for the country with its move to the west.
So this is interesting because people say, oh, we need to go green, we need to go green, we need to go green. There's levels of green that we need to go.
Yes.
Because solar alone won't do it. It can't because there's weather conditions. We're further north, so the sun sets low in the winter, so you're not getting the same energy output.
Now solar's getting better. Solar even works in the UK. But you're absolutely right.
It's not 100% dependable.
Panacea.
Yeah, and it will never be. Wind isn't either.
No.
When you need it, it's not going to be there. But diesel is, and if you can produce that through the corn, again, we're staying within the we're staying with the ecological aspect that keeps it on a green level. And yes, it's being burned, but it smells like French fries.
Yeah.
When corn oil is being burned, the tailpipe comes out French fries,
So you've got exactly. You do have your tier 1, tier 2, and 3, and 4 biodiesels, absolutely, or biofuels. So your used cooking oil, which smells like French fries, absolutely.
Yes,
So you have to strain the forks out and the
and the potato parts and stuff, And
so, now Europe has a problem with first-tier biofuels. So they don't like you to use virgin feedstocks because they believe that it will interrupt the food supply. So if you're using rape methyl ester or soy methyl ester, so that's from soybeans, they think that that's going to affect the supply of food for the masses.
Okay.
But in Ukraine, that's not a problem. There's lots of sunflower oil. There's lots of rape.
Yes.
So you can use a virgin feedstock if you want to, or you can again commingle it with a used cooking oil and make a very nice blended. And you can go to a 50% blend. You can run on 100% biodiesel, but you don't have that same kick. So a blended biodiesel is a very good solution. And we were running B30, and we only stopped there because people were afraid back in those days.
Yes.
So there's lots and lots of options.
No, that's fantastic. No, and that's really encouraging, actually. There's a lot of things that you brought up that I wasn't even thinking about or aware of, and it makes it even more exciting to be a part of this development. I'm happy to be working directly, Andesite Blue, with Ukraine Nua.
Well, can I just jump in there
Yes.
and say your partner Ben?
Yes.
Awesome man, absolutely. I've only met him
On a screen.
You remember Max Headroom? Back when we were kids, you had Max Headroom. He was a kind of a digital superhero.
I don't, personally.
You didn't watch as much television.
No.
So Ben to me is Max Headroom. He's
Okay.
just on. All I've seen him on is my screen.
Oh, yes.
Because I think he's in
He could
Moldova
be.
at the moment.
He could be with that one with Al Pacino, Simone or whatever, that movie where she was just only digital.
Yeah.
That's Ben. That's my ace in the hole. You know.
But Ben found us in Ireland, and he's the one that's talked to us about Andesite Blue, and the experience with Andesite Blue has been phenomenal. Absolutely. Ben does these weekly presentations
Yes.
for
Yeah,
your
we got one
bondholders.
this evening, actually.
And, one this evening, which is going to be worth dialing into. Love Ben. He's absolutely wonderful. And so the whole experience with Andesite Blue has been great.
Yeah, and so and actually meeting you and working with you and just kind of picking the brain and seeing the direction and the vision has been exciting and really phenomenal and encouraging, especially for us as a finance and investment company. We need to put our money in wise places.
Yeah.
And they have to we have to guarantee to our bondholders that their money's secure. And so.
Yes.
And so it's absolutely, and I'm hands-on, so I'm in Ukraine. I get to see this. I get to feel it. I get to touch it. I get to taste it. I get to handle it to make sure that it is the right choice and it's the right investment.
It's all about de-risking an investment. Absolutely. So if I can just introduce, he won't appear suddenly like a genie, but our chairman is John O'Connor. His background is working with companies like Berkshire Hathaway. John did the largest medical hospital deal in Ireland's history with Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay.
So he brings to us a wealth of understanding how to deliver big projects, and so that helps to de-risk a project when you know that the head of the group has the
and the handler's got the experience. Yeah.
He was an advisor to Margaret Thatcher back in the day.
Okay.
He and he's worked in the defense industry and in Washington quite a bit. He is a County Tipperary boy. So he is Irish, although he sounds more posh than I do. I don't sound posh at all. I'm just a cowboy rode into town.
Yeah.
But so that de-risked it. But we've just come from a meeting as well that I think is absolutely critical to talk about, and that is the anti-corruption meeting.
Yes.
So, and you can pronounce the name better than I can because
I'm not
going to
try. Wait a second.
Yeah,
Hold on a second. I'm going to cheat.
But
and pull his card out here. Vyacheslav.
Yeah.
So Vyacheslav. Anyway, he's the International Anti-Corruption Assembly. He is the chairman.
And by aligning with an organization like his,
yes,
they can provide some oversight on transactions, give us good advice to make sure that what we're doing is clean business.
And he's also their organization, because he has two organizations there, but also making available land, areas, properties, whether it's within places like Bucha or even outskirts of Kiev City. He talked about several of those places, not just Kiev. I mean, we went around and we were talking Kharkiv, Sumy. We're talking many places.
Absolutely.
But he has a lot of resources in that, and they work directly, are willing to work directly with your Ukraine Nua. And it's not something. Well, potentially it could be, but I mean, we're being kind of partnering, and not partnering in the sense of a monetary contract in that way, as Ukraine Nua and Andesite Blue as being partners, but as business entities.
Yes.
We're
not getting
working
married.
together, right. And
but we sure are best friends.
Very good friends, yes. And so it really, again, it just makes those areas of security that's very important to when it comes to investments. I have to handle money, and it's not my money. So I need to take more care of it.
Yeah.
If it's my money, I can go to the casino, but it isn't my money.
Nope.
So
we want to make
I'm
sure.
not going to roll the dice, to see if this is going to work or not. So
to best provide some sort of growth and you can call it a social program to provide the benefit that's required here. It needs to be a commercial enterprise.
Yes.
Because is there charity fatigue? Is there Ukraine fatigue at the moment in Europe, in Canada, in the US?
Right.
I don't know. Some people go, oh, I'm not giving any money, but I think that the will is still strong to give. Do I have an opinion on whether people could give faster? Of course I do. I spend a lot of time screaming at people, but I appear mild-mannered. But yes, when it comes to that, but the best way is to put forward an absolutely robust, workable business proposition so that the investment can come in, and then people can help themselves.
Correct.
Joining
Exactly.
in, working, and everybody earns.
Everybody there earns, even to the person and to the individuals coming back into Ukraine and have that opportunity to own their home.
Absolutely.
And they're growing and they're earning and they're, one thing I liked what Tatiana was talking about was, your home should not be an expense. She had a vision, and being a scientist herself, she's a very intelligent woman. Her brain does not stop,
Yes.
And that's how she invented and came up with the water project, is that she says your home needs to be paying you.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? Well, one of the things is solar on the solar, using that empty real estate on the roof. And there's many different ways to be able to have your home benefit you, not cost you. So everybody benefits. So the investor and benefits from it, the developer and benefits from it, the workers, the contractors, the laborers. Everybody is benefiting from
Absolutely.
this. So.
And it is the most reliable way.
Yes.
To provide that much needed benefit. So de-risking, providing good, beautiful experience and quality of life for people, saving the planet. I'm almost proud enough to phone my mom and say, what a great thing I'm doing. She's Norwegian, so she wouldn't buy it anyway. Yeah. She'd say, don't get too big for your boots.
Yeah.
But having said all that about commercialism and doing business, part of what we do, we have a GoFundMe campaign.
Okay.
And I came to Ukraine in a Nissan Pathfinder, filled with medicine and medical supplies for the horses at Kyiv Hippodrome.
Yes.
I didn't fly and train in. I came in this Pathfinder.
The Nissan Pathfinder. Okay.
We unloaded 2 vehicles. So a good friend of ours, Anthony O'Sullivan, off his own bat, drove his own car here full of the stuff that wouldn't fit in the Pathfinder.
Okay.
And he came along a day after me, and we met him in Lviv and got the stuff here. But we rocked up to the Hippodrome, unloaded all the stuff, and then went and gave the Pathfinder for use on the front lines, to rescue the vulnerable, injured, old people, injured soldiers, and bring them to safety.
Yes.
So a brave young man named Dima is currently out there in this Pathfinder.
I think every Ukrainian man's name is Dima.
There were about 19 of them at your party, and there was only 18 men.
Right.
So
you and I, and then the other Dimas, right?
So I'm changing my name to Dima. Officially. But this is a great thing to do, and we're keeping the GoFundMe campaign open. The first thing that we did was went to the equestrian community in Ireland. The Irish love their horses.
Yes.
So we went to them and talked to them about, the message was about that the horses need help. And the Hippodrome have got a horse that was rescued when its owner's house was shelled and they died, and this horse, no home.
Oh, wow.
It was on its way to the meat factory, and some volunteers brought it to the Hippodrome. It's now training to be a trotter.
Wow.
Which is very cool. The military have some horses at the Hippodrome. They don't have the money to pay for the upkeep, but the soldiers, when they come back from the front, go in and do maintenance at the Hippodrome in exchange. So it's this kind of a great community. So we're continuing to get vehicles, fill them with horse supplies, medicine, and then some humanitarian. We brought some food as well, and Anthony brought some nappies, some diapers, and baby goods. Bring them, and we want to just bring them regularly. Drop off the supplies. Take the car to the
vehicle
front,
and then drop the vehicle off.
and then train out, fly
That's fantastic.
home,
That's
bring one
absolutely
back.
fantastic.
And, so,
Now, your GoFundMe, that's give the name.
Project Cossack. So,
Project Cossack. Yeah,
so
we mentioned that on the meeting with Svetlana.
yes, yeah,
But
absolutely.
you kind of, but now you actually
I'm
brought some things
shamelessly
here.
throwing it out there again.
Not a problem. No,
search
that's,
Project Cossack,
Yeah.
and that money is absolutely being used for the.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. So we can very, very thankful for you and John and Svetlana and just putting that together. That project it's humanitarian. Giving is the greatest form of love.
Absolutely,
It's just what we have to give that shows love. And we give to Ukraine because we love Ukraine.
Yeah.
We're here in Ukraine because we love Ukraine, and Ukrainians are here because they're born in Ukraine, but they love their country and they're patriotic.
Yes, yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely,
but,
and yeah, in a lovely, healthy way.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not. It's not sinister in any way. It's not.
no,
Korean-ish.
they want to be here.
Absolutely, and
I
it's a
mean, if
lovely
it was
place to be.
Koreanish, the 4 million Koreans that left the country would never go back.
Exactly.
Ukrainians are coming back.
Yeah.
Last February, the train, it was free to get on the train. March, February 24th and in March, because it was just an evacuation.
Yeah.
And it was just women and children supposed to be, and just packed. I mean, just smashed into those trains. I mean, some of them were just sitting in the aisles and sleeping while the train was taking them out of the country. The streets, the roads and highways were just jammed, and the border was 3 to 6 and plus and kilometers long, and 3 to 4 days to get out if you drove. It was just a jam packed to get out. So over 4 million Ukrainians left during that time. I really don't know the number anymore. I mean, that's probably an old number. But the thing is that almost 70% came back. And that happened over the summer. And in, I'm trying to think of the month. I don't know if it's July or August. The coming back was nearly as busy coming back as it was when they left, So I remember when I was here in March, the streets were just empty. I mean, it was a ghost town. Kyiv was a ghost town. But then all of a sudden, May came along and more cars, and June and July, and next thing you know, now we're back to our normal traffic. That's big city traffic. So.
On our previous visit, it was the first day McDonald's opened. There was only one McDonald's, and the queue was, I think, 16 days. So it's a long time to wait for a Big Mac.
Well, I waited longer than that. I don't like McDonald's, but I don't like their food.
But there's a normalcy to the day here, which is really great to see. But it's surreal. When we were driving in from Lviv, it was dark by the time we hit Kyiv, and it was really dark. And it's surreal to me to arrive in a city of the importance of Kyiv.
A big city, yes.
Dark, pitch black.
Yeah.
The sirens are disturbing, but we just sort of kept going.
And people have got a routine with it now. They've just kind of managed a routine. It's an inconvenience, but they do have a routine on that. So we opened up with about the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is that the preparation for this reconstruction and rebuilding of Ukraine, but really. Ukraine is the center of the world. It's like the world has felt, the breadbasket. It's always called the breadbasket of Europe, but the world has realized it's the breadbasket of the world because it actually affected, when Russia stole the grain and stopped the shipments and stuff like that. And so we didn't get out what we used to. Everybody felt that in the world. That's how important Ukraine was. Of course, it's been all over the news. They've been seeing the destruction. So economically, it's a boom. It's just ready to happen. And
on our website, it says there's going to be a gold rush. And that could sound tacky. There's going to be a gold rush. This is going to be the emerging economy.
And this is where, especially living in here, you can feel that growth and anticipation because everything is gearing up. We already have developers and builders already starting to rebuild in Bucha and these cities that have been in Chernihiv and Brovary and stuff and well, assuming Kharkiv, I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. It's a little bit far out, and they haven't had a lot of activity there, but because they cleared the Russians out. But that's still pretty fresh, and I don't know if their developers are quite in there yet. But it's going
happening.
Yeah,
it is happening now, and now is the time.
Right, and so getting the investors lined up, we already have projects now that it's ready to invest in, and which is exciting, because when you get into the level of today to invest, you're really securing a really golden future, and really taking advantage of some really nice gains, substantial gains.
Yes.
And I like the way on our meeting a few weeks ago that the British guy that we had on, he was talking, it was Steve's friend, and he says, "How are you going to guarantee these substantial returns?" And I thought, that's an excellent question. Now, I know we've been asked that question before, but I love the way he worded it. And of course, we kind of went through it, and then we didn't have enough time on that on the podcast, but we wrote it out and everything, and got it over to him so we could answer his question, because Ben and I have been putting our brains together, and we've been walking through this for 2 years, to get this all secured and know what we're doing and knowing how we're going to allow that and to give those returns to our investors. And we're doing it through bonds. The bonds is that's the part, that's an instrument, it's an investment tool, but the instruments and tools that are available to the investor today are getting thin. They're running out of opportunities. Cryptocurrencies are so volatile. And sure, people made their billions of dollars in the beginning and stuff like that, but those are the carrots, and then people get seduced, but they're the ones losing. There's more people. They don't advertise the losses. They don't advertise the losers. They only advertise the one winner here and the one winner there, and you think, oh, everybody's winning, and it's not true. Even just the regular currency trade, that's everything. The U.S. and the EU, the euro was equal, dollar for dollar. Dollar for EU. The British pound was $1.41, went to $1.10, I think down to $1.08 against the dollar. Now, how did that happen? There's no reasonable reason why that happened, because the outrageous spending that the U.S. has done, and is at a 30+ trillion deficit. There's no way that it could back the dollar like that. So who decided that now the British pound is 1.08 when it used to be 1.41, 6 months prior? So anyway, that's the technology. But that's what the investors, that's what they feel, and because an investor, they've learned that their money works for them. Okay, you don't work for your money. When you work for your money, that then you feel every inflation, you feel every change in the market and stuff like that. But the investor, he's constantly looking at ways to have his money work for him, and so he's not careless, he's not reckless, especially the sophisticated and the disciplined investors. They're not careless. They're not the young bucks that are going out there and trying to make their $1 billion in less than 2 years. They know how to let it grow, and they've learned to grab the instruments that are giving them the nominal returns that are above inflation. That's what they're comfortable with. So if they get to 4, 5, 6%, if they get 6%, they're happy on that. When you take a 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, and get a 6% return, they're ecstatic about that. That is a substantial return. We're on our Andesite Blue bonds. It's 7 to nearly 9% return on the investment on those bonds. And we're using the bond instrument because it is really a solid structure. It's a solid instrument. It's a fixed rate, So you don't, I bought it at, 7.85, and then next thing you know, when I went to cash out, they said, oh, it's 4.25. That's not, bonds are fixed.
Sure, yeah.
And it's one instrument. And so we wanted to create an instrument and an opportunity for people to actually buy a bond that is involved in an emerging market.
Yes. And your catalog, your portfolio of projects are real projects.
Correct.
In a dynamic emerging market, and it's necessary things. So it's far from crypto.
Correct. It's not frivolous.
It is the real deal. It is solid projects.
Yeah, and which if you go onto the website on the lower left corner there, and you go to the website, you'll be able to see what our selections are and what our choices are on that, because we care. So again, it's not my money. So I'm not going to the casino with somebody else's money. I'm not going to roll the dice and say, hey, that looks like it's going to do good. Let's invest in futures. We don't do that.
It's good, solid stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for joining us this evening. I know this went a little longer than normal, but it's very easy, especially when you get with another native speaker, to just, blah, 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 and really go on. We could go on for really hours and stuff, but we won't bore you with that. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Technically, Tuesday evening will be the airtime. If something comes up, like it has been, I'll make sure that we get in an alternative time and stuff. But anyway, have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you soon. Good night.